From Reading to Woodland, John...
Wow. The county is stronger than the private property owner.
In America, you got private property rights, and you don't have the right to tell him what to do with his property.
This is outrageous. Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters? Where are they? This kind of behavior is never tolerated in Boracua. You shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists.
Good afternoon, Yuba Sutter. It's the Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight. 1410 a.m., The Patriot.
He did that without a sign.
No, I did it right off the sign. And happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Happy Mother's Day, all you mothers out there.
Yes.
God bless you all.
By the way, my kids and I got up this morning, ran out. They showed up at my house early. Ran out, got breakfast, everything for breakfast you could possibly imagine. Tammy has got a mess to clean up tomorrow. I mean, we destroyed the kitchen, so then we left. So she's going to have a mess tomorrow.
That's your Mother's Day present,
yeah,
huh?
It's a destroyed kitchen, or breakfast, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
No, so she's not with us today. She was going to take Mother's Day off, so it's just the boys here today, and it ought to be kind of interesting. We got nobody. I think she might be listening, though, so we're still going to be we'll be censored from afar.
Mom's listening.
And so I'm going to play this ad really quick for Jeff Pierce. We actually have him in the studio today, so we're going to be able to ask him some questions, but I want to start off by playing his ad that I thought was really just a top-notch ad. Here we go.
This is former Yuba County Sheriff Gary Tyndall. In my 40-year career in law enforcement, all three of the candidates for sheriff have served under my command. I can honestly say that Jeff Pierce is the best and most qualified to be the next Sutter County Sheriff.
I agree. This is former Sutter County Sheriff Jim Denny. Without question, Jeff Pierce is the right choice for sheriff. Jeff has the experience needed to run the sheriff's office, tackle homeless problems, defend Second Amendment rights, and keep our families safe.
This is Sutter County Under Sheriff Jeff Pierce. I am honored by the support of retired sheriffs Gary Tyndall and Jim Denny. I am also proud to have earned the support of our Sheriff Paul Parker, Sacramento Sheriff Scott Jones, former Sutter Sheriff Art Brandwood, radio host and former Sheriff John McGinnis, and retired CHP Commissioner Maury Hannigan. More importantly, I am asking for your support because as Sheriff, I will work for you.
Paid for by Pierce for County Sheriff 2018.
All right, so the last was our little intro for Jeff Pierce. It's kind of what we all kind of agree, what we think of the man whenever he comes off with his presence. We actually really like it. Jeff Pierce is here with us live in the studio. Tom, I thought you might have some questions for him, do you want to give an opening statement, Jeff?
Sure. Like to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day, all you mothers out there, and I hope you have a great day and your families take good care of you today as you've taken care of them. I would like to let everybody know who I am. My name is Jeff Pierce, and I've been in law enforcement 40 years, and I'm going to my 37th year at the Sutter County Sheriff's Office. For the last 8 years, I've been serving as your undersheriff for Paul Parker. I've held many positions within the Sheriff's Office. I've worked the jail, the courts, patrol, detectives, and narcotics, and I've been on all kinds of different type of teams, including being a K-9 officer, firearms instructor, FTO, pilot, SWAT team leader. I graduated from high school, and after high school, I went on and got an administrative justice degree through Yuba College and got a criminal justice degree through a Bachelor of Science through Sacramento State University. I am a graduate of the National FBI Academy. I actually went during the time about 2 or 3 weeks after the tragic 9/11 incident. I hold multiple police officer standards and certificates, and I have a management certificate. I've done a lot in my department. I've worked very hard. I've been forward-thinking, and I'm always trying to think something new. I've upgraded our technology to include cameras in cars, mobile computers, 911 systems, radio interoperability systems. I've written a lot of grants and administered a lot of state and federal grants, and including getting a command van. I put a lot of programs together. I put the community policing program together, our school resource officer program, farm equipment, our farm prevention program, and many other programs. I've been involved in Boy Scouts. I've been set on the allocation committee for the United Way, and I've been an advisory member of the Salvation Army. I am a Farm Bureau member, and I've farmed in this community for the last 30 years. And I have 3 sons and 5 grandsons. And I'm proudly endorsed, as I said, as the radio had said, I'm highly endorsed by all the sheriffs I've worked for, which includes the current sheriff, Paul Parker, Jim Denny, Art Brandwood, and Gary Tyndall. In addition to the other sheriffs, Sacramento Sheriff Scott Jones, former Sheriff Sacramento County John McGinnis, and CHP retired Commissioner Maury Hannigan, who was the voice of the Highway Patrol.
Gary Tyndall was pretty interesting because, I mean, he's worked with all 3 of you guys, correct?
Yes, he has.
So, I mean, that says a lot whenever he picks one to endorse and picks Jeff out of the ones to endorse whenever he's worked with all 3. So that means he knows them all personally and what they're about. So that's a good endorsement to have, especially whenever he's worked with all 3 guys.
Now,
I find that very impressive.
I'm curious with those. I know Art Brandwood still lives around here. But what about these other former sheriffs? Are they still living in the area? Do you know?
Yes, they all live in Sutter County, the former sheriffs do.
Okay, right on. I had a question. Now, I stopped by the other day.
1 second. If all those sheriffs live in Sutter County, I want everybody to hear this real quick. If all those sheriffs live in Sutter County, the Sutter County sheriff is going to affect it's going to affect them personally. So if they're endorsing Jeff Pierce, is something to really think about, because the fact is they still live here and they're endorsing him. That means that's what they want is their sheriff. So that's a good point. That's a good point to drive home, I think.
Well, I think they know Jeff's work ethic.
Yeah.
And like he said many times at the campaign forums that he is a hard worker.
Oh, yeah.
So I stopped by the sheriff's department the other day to ask him to come on and speak on the radio.
Uh-huh.
And I caught him out there working. I went inside, and they said, well, he's not in his office. So then I said, well, I want to leave this my phone number and an invitation. And so as I was leaving, there he was coming up the sidewalk with some other guys, and they're out overseeing the construction of the jail upgrade. So can you give us a little bit on what's happening there at the jail upgrade, Jeff?
Sure. We've been putting together a $13 million jail. We're going to expand our jail from up to 42 beds, and that includes 28 male beds and the rest female beds. We also are upgrading our medical facility, as well as having what's called a safety cell that's modernized, and we also upgrading our cafeteria, and we hope to have all this done by the end of or the first part of 2019.
So I'm curious now, when you're working with your staff, okay, and you've got running a jail, I imagine is quite the challenge. So you get people in there that are, repeat offenders, hardened criminals, people that just don't care about nothing. And then you get people in there that have made mistakes and ended up in there, or you get your DUIs and all kinds of different walks of life. So how do you keep it where, there's still a certain amount of respect for the inmate that comes in there? And how do you delegate that down to the people that are working under you? I mean, I believe that everybody deserves a certain amount of respect no matter what their situation is.
Well, I think that you'll find that our personnel in the jail are very fair, as well as the deputies, to those who they arrest and incarcerate. We try to treat everybody fairly. We know there's people out there who've just happened to make a mistake and they got caught and they're paying their dues and they're going to go out to society and become better. So we try to work with those people that are incarcerated with our jail. We try to give all kinds of different programs. The probation department under AB 109 is in charge of working out different type of programs for each of the inmates so they can get out back into society and become productive members of the society. We have moral cognizant therapy classes. We have GED classes. We have coping with anger, peer relationship classes, just to name a few of them. And the goal is to get these people on the right track, get them out, and hopefully they'll be productive in society one day again. But there's been a lot of challenges because we now have people who should be going to state prison now housed in the county jail, and that's also basically put our jailers more at risk.
So what about the tension in with the police officers and the inmates? Is there heightened tension because of maybe overcrowding, or also the just being cooped up all the time?
Well, our jail is basically designed to have different programs to keep everybody busy and everything like that. And plus, it's so busy going around trying to make sure everybody's needs with going to court is fulfilled, along with having their attorneys getting all the bookwork they need, law library, things like that. It is difficult. You have to be able to communicate with different type of people in that jail. It takes a very special person to be a correctional officer, and I give my hats off to those correctional officers. They work very hard in that jail. And we do have those that just want to give us problems because that's just all they got time to do. And those are usually the ones who are in there for multiple years instead of just 1 year, what the county jail is actually designed to be.
Now, how about the morale with the current employees there at the jail? I mean, they're all public servants. How do they? What's your take on their morale as far as enjoying the work? I mean, when I was there and you gave me a little tour, it seemed to be pretty much happy.
Well, the jail is one of the busiest bees that I've seen. They work very well together. They're always helping each other and volunteering. I've been very blessed to be able to get, the last year, 5 or 6 jailers from my competition from their county, and I've got 6 more on my list from some county that wants to come to our jail. So that tells you a little bit about morale, why they like working at our jail.
You're in the same situation as me as a private employer. There's a certain amount of people that can do a good job, and I'm in the plastering, and we need skilled plasterers. So people are always trying to rob our guys from us, and as of lately, I'm looking to rob a few of theirs back in my direction. It's just so you're dealing with that same issue all the time, huh?
Yeah, we have an economic issue. Obviously, our deputies aren't paid as well as the surrounding counties are, and that's an issue. But money becomes an issue too. What's left in the budget after you have an unfunded liability, that it's squeezing into that general fund, as well as mandated programs from the state. And in addition, it's our general fund is just shrinking, and it's less discretionary money to use to fund law enforcement. So we have to be a little bit more thinking. That's why we've increased our technology with the computers. We've also streamlined our reports. We also have a tip line that you can go on the internet and give us tips and give us information. So it is a challenge.
So you mentioned AB 109. Can you expound on that a little bit? And is there something in the works that is going to nullify that? Do you know?
Well, AB 109 is a bill that where normal prisoners would be going to state prison that are nonviolent, non-sexual, or non-serious. Instead of going to the prison, spending their time, they spend their time in a county jail. And the county jail was only designed for a 1-year stay at the max. So now we have people who they're supposed to be in prison that are now we're housing at our expense, and the state is kicking down some dollars and offsetting a little bit of that. But what makes it really challenging is that we also have the people who voted Proposition 47 in, and that lowered a lot of our misdemeanors, our felonies to misdemeanors. And by doing that, those people who would be normally going to state prison, now they're misdemeanors, we don't get any funding for them, so that funding comes directly from the taxpayers from the local area.
So how long can they spend in your jail now? If somebody breaks the law, how long are they capable of spending in your jail before they actually have to go to a state penitentiary?
Well, we've actually have jails within California that have people sentenced up over 20 years.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
And that's on the taxpayers' back.
Yeah, well, and that's unbelievable
I mean,
because, a jail is not set up like... I've never been to jail. I've never been to prison. Just want to throw that out there. But from what I've seen, prisons are a lot bigger. I built up in Crescent City, so I was right next to Pelican Bay. And they have a yard. They're a lot bigger facility. From what I see, you guys don't have a yard, do you?
Yeah, we have exercise yards. They're required to have a minimum of 1 hour a day to exercise. And one thing about a state prison is a state prison has multiple programs they can go into. And we don't have those programs. We don't have the space. So a lot of people who do long-term in our jail, they would rather be in the state prison and get that program. We've had threats to our correctional officers that, hey, I'm going to harm a correctional officer. That way I can get a good felony and go to state.
Sorry, that was not meant for you guys.
We got a
Sorry.
technical difficulty.
No,
Air
sure.
raid.
Yeah.
There.
Was that an air raid siren? I want to get. We better cover up. Get under the desk.
I was
Wow, I'm not quite sure what that was.
Okay.
That's never happened before.
I was not whining.
No, he wasn't, and I totally hit that wrong button.
Hey, now
trying
check this out.
Keep better.
I was driving around the other day, and I'm pondering the situation where you got one agency, a sheriff's department or police department, always trying to lure other officers over there. Okay, now that's a common deal in the private sector, but I was thinking it should not be like this in the public service sector. You know, like maybe the state should mandate certain salaries for certain officers, and then there wouldn't be that constant tug back and forth. What do you think about that?
Well, the problem with that is that anytime a state mandates anything on a city or a county, they're required to pay us. But often they give us IOUs, and sometimes we don't get paid back for another 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So I mean, sounds great, but may not be great. Plus, it takes discretionary from the Board of Supervisors because each area is different economically, and you really can't set a scale that's throughout the entire California because it's a higher cost of living in San Francisco versus here.
Yeah.
What we need to do is try to compare us to our local job markets where I have a guy going down to Woodland for $8 an hour, a lot more for a half-hour drive.
Right, right. So when it comes down to getting that money that the sheriff's department needs, it's you've got to solicit the Board of Supervisors for it, I guess.
Yes, the sheriff is beholden to the Board of Supervisors. They're the ones that fund the sheriff's office, and we go and request every budget what we would like to have, and it's up to the Board of Supervisors to approve that. And they also have to be physically responsible and look at the other needs throughout the county. And like I said, I mean, our pensions are squeezing our general fund. In fact, in the next 2 years, I believe we're going to hit with roughly $7 million more in PERS that the officers are going to have to pull out of their pockets and the county is going to have to pull out of their pockets.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge.
By 2024, 25, Nate Black gave a little presentation at the last Board of Supervisors meeting. It's fire safety, which is fire and police, fire and sheriff's department, 52%. Status of pension, 52%. He said if it reaches that, we're sunk.
Now, what does that mean, Bill? 52% of what?
Currently it's at 39% pension. Status of pension is the
that's the percentage that's paid in already and or needs to be paid in.
that's currently being paid in 39%.
Okay. 39%
Of what? Of the budget?
Yes.
39% of the budget is going to be paid in for pensions.
Yes.
Oh, that's no good.
what do you say,
You
Jeff?
know, it says pensions at the top. I'm not certain if it's pensions or not.
You know, we really need to get Nate
Well,
Black in here to explain
No,
this.
Jeff,
Okay.
he's a number cruncher down there
Okay,
at the
let's-
sheriff's department. He
He's
knows
got to
what's
be.
up.
Yeah, well, one of the problems we have is with the PERS board, where you have these legislators come in and put mandates that you can't invest in legal products like tobacco and things like that. That has cost the PERS over the several years, according to Nate Black, over $8 billion.
Yeah.
And Nate's been, a hard charger on this thing, trying to take care of this. He's also started an investment fund called PARS, and trying to offset some of that money and try to get a little bit more interest and stuff like that. So he's done a phenomenal job, but
Yeah.
he's got a big hill to jump.
We like Nate Black here.
Yes, we do.
He's a straight arrow.
Yeah. Wow.
So, can you tell us, as the undersheriff, what is your typical day, and then if you win this election, how would that affect what you're doing?
He does all
as
the work.
a sheriff.
That's his normal day. He does all the work.
Well, we figured that.
Well, my job as an undersheriff is to carry out the direction of the elected sheriff, but also be an advisor to the sheriff. My typical day begins probably real early in the morning. I'm up around 4 o'clock and stuff. It's not unusual to see me come in about 5 o'clock in the morning. I get my paperwork. Yeah, I go to Starbucks. I'll sit in the lot, and I put papers all on my dash, so I'm real quiet and everything, and I just start going through all the paperwork that's been coming up the chain of command, getting ready to go down the chain of command, and I just try to sort things out. I know people at Starbucks have asked me, what the heck are you doing there? Are you just being antisocial, not coming in? I said, no, I'm out here doing my work where it's real quiet. So I'll get that all done, go back to the work. Then in the morning, I'll meet with my staff and division heads and find out what's going on through the day. I go through, we get a briefing log every day. I go through our tip log and go through everything that's happened in the jail, from patrol to dispatch, and I look at whatever the issues are. And then the division heads come in, and whatever issues they have, we try to work without those issues. And throughout the day, I have various meetings to go. I have executive meetings to go to. You name it. It's meetings all the time. And we try to solve problems, such as the homeless problems is one we're trying to solve right now. So it keeps constant. When you get home, you get some quiet time, and it's not unusual to get 1 or 2 calls a night from somebody that something's happened that you need to know about, because the press is going to be calling you any minute, want to know what's going on.
I thought our homeless problem was solved the last time the dam almost broke.
It was solved for 2 weeks.
That just pushed it down to Sacramento, huh?
No, actually, it
Okay.
did push it in Sacramento. I can honestly tell you, when I went flying over the top, all the junk debris came up, and it was kind of a still area of the river. So when it receded, it just came straight back down. I don't think much went down.
Yeah. Now, I have my own homeless guy that comes to my place, and I have an outdoor plug that he charges his laptop and his cell phone. Now, I don't have a laptop, but my homeless guy has a
Well, we
laptop.
could probably get you more, Tom. What's your address?
No.
We could probably get you more swinging by.
You know, Jeff was one of the 2 people that came to the constitutional sheriff's class that Tammy put on. And what did you think about that class, Jeff?
I thought I knew a lot about the Constitution and everything, but I actually learned some stuff there, and I thought it was pretty neat. And there's one thing I'd like to instill as a sheriff is that I would like to hand each of my deputies a little pocket Constitution. I carry one already on my iPhone, so maybe I just have to give them apps since they're the more of the newer type generation.
How
coming up.
about maybe sending them to a Constitution class?
Yeah, I
See
would
if-
impose to having something that we had a roll call training into that area and taking a look at it, make sure that we are out there and understand that we are there to protect the U.S. Constitution, the Fourth Amendment rights, and for everybody. And it doesn't matter who they are. We treat everybody equally. And it would be good to have those classes.
Yeah, or, here's even an idea. You could bring in our resident trainer, Tammy, who's taking the day off today. She didn't ask us for the day off. She just took it off.
Well,
Okay. We're going to...
She holds a high enough seat she can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
we're just not above her pay grade.
yeah. So, maybe come in and do a little segment here and there. I don't know if that was feasible, but it sure would be helpful, I would think, to come in and say, we're going to just go over this little piece of history as it pertains to our Bill of Rights, or, something along that line.
Yeah.
I believe it would be great for the police officers to be more informed on the Constitution.
Well, that's what we protect, and that's what we're sworn to uphold. So I think it would be important if they understand it. Yes.
Yes.
Especially the newer guys coming on board right out of the academy. I mean, they're coming out from different trainers. They're getting all these different aspects from. I think it'd be nice to get them into a class just a little while to understand at least the amendments and what they're about, and understand, especially with being a sheriff officer. And I don't want to downplay police officers all the time. I know I do that a lot, but the fact is they are, they're below a sheriff's officer. I mean, they just are. The fact is they are. A sheriff officer goes out into the county by himself, 45 minutes away, no backup. He's got to be a diplomat. There's no doubt about it. His people skills have got to be top notch.
And they should be.
Yeah.
You know, they should be.
So
Because
it's a different animal.
you're working for the public.
Oh, yeah.
And for the people.
Yep.
So
How does Sutter County work? I got a question on that now that we brought that up. Is how does Sutter County work? Do we tend to get the same sheriff officers in the same areas? You know, like out in Wheatland. I mean, not Wheatland, but out in Meridian
Robin.
and those areas.
Well, what we do, we rotate them right now, and if we could get a deputy that wants to reside in a particular location, those resident beats, they give a very small incentive, which was based on 1979 to get it like $150 for living down there. The issue and the challenge we have is finding a suitable place for the people to live there, and I would advocate that somehow we get that $150 a month incentive, basically compared to what the inflation rate was, and try to get that up and try to get more people interested in it. The younger guys traditionally like to work within the office, whereas there's a lot of activity and everything. The older ones tend to like to work more of the outskirts and stuff like that. So we need to try to work with that. We always assign somebody to those beats, but it's best to have somebody who lives there and who knows the people.
So by all means, if you got a sheriff officer that's living in Meridian, by all means, that's going to be his main area.
Yeah, I just
if that's what he wants.
Yes, yes, exactly. If he says, I want to be the designated Meridian deputy, then so be it, you're the Meridian deputy. We do that with our Pleasant Grove deputies too. We have people down there, they're assigned down there, and that's their beat. They're called the designated. When there's not a designated deputy on, then we have to send somebody from the main office to rotate them through.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to work down, by gosh, yes, we'll send them down there.
That's perfect. Because, I mean, that's the way it was when I was growing up as a kid. I lived up in the mountains up above Berry Creek. And, you know, we knew our sheriff officer and we knew our game warden. And, I mean, those are the two people that we dealt with most. Not that we were in trouble, but just who we ended up dealing with a lot of the time.
I'll bet you got a lot of time with them on.
I sure did. They knew me by first name basis.
First name basis.
Well, it's like when I worked in the Pleasant Grove area and stuff like that, and I pretty much grew up in that area, and I farmed in that area and did a lot of things. So you knew all the people. So you knew who were the bad guys, who weren't the bad guys, who belonged, who didn't belong, and you build a relationship with those people. And you'd be surprised how much more information you get. We had 3 resident deputies, and our intel was we had one deputy who lived south go to the Pleasant Grove store, one lived in Nicholas, go to the Nicholas store, and one would go to the Riosa store, Four Corner store, and we get all the stories and what's going on. And we all meet together and we discuss what's going on in the community. So actually, that's one of our secret ways of finding out what's going on.
Yeah,
Well,
you got a pretty good network going.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And that's one of my things I want to do. I want to create 2 community service officers for non-sworn officers, cheaper than an officer, at least to try to take those cold calls and free up the deputies so they can move out to the county a little bit. And I want to look at our staffing and see how can I move people out in those areas and get what they need. I just met with one of the Meridian citizens the other day, and we had a long talk about this. And they've agreed to help us to find areas for people to live in and be willing to support trying to get more of a pay for those deputies who live out there.
So, yeah, if they're living out there, they're going to take their squad car home, too. And yeah.
That's one thing we do. Each deputy takes a squad car home. Actually, they actually taken care of better. They last longer. Plus, the entire community sees them out there, and they see a deputy living there, and that has a big impact. And when we get rid of the vehicles, they have a better resale value. So people take pride in them, and plus the deputy sets it up the way he feels comfortable because it's his safety, and he may set his spotlights a certain different direction and stuff like that, so he doesn't fiddle around every day with a different car. Mm-hmm. So it is a big advantage to have a car. And plus, when you have like the Oroville Dam situation, we have all these cars coming in with people. We don't have to look for cars or double up or triple up.
Right. It's a good program. And also, you know, when I'm driving down the road and I see one of those cars, I immediately reach for the brake, you know.
Well,
I'm not going
not me.
at high speed. Oh, you go for the gas pedal.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm on the brake.
It's good to see that out there, yes.
And we do encourage our people to go out there and walk around and stuff like that. In fact, the last several years, you could see me in the summertime walking out there. I just pick a street, jump out and in my uniform, walk down the street, and people are like, wow, what are you doing out here? And it's pretty nice when you talk to people and they don't expect you to be on foot. We're just getting ready to start our bicycle patrol, and that's a good way of finding things out and looking around. And you'd be surprised what bike patrol people find.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine being a little
Especially
bit
after
sneaky
dark.
squirrel.
Now,
Other bicyclists, that's for sure.
Yeah. Probably one of the hardest things is doing of all the programs. We have multiple programs we offer to the community, and one of the hardest things is having the funding to be able to do those things, and because you have to pay these officers time and a half overtime to do it, or they take what's called compensatory time off and have a bank and they put it in. So there's a balancing act on that and how we do these programs. And that's where a lot of our grant money is used to buy that equipment and buys maybe sometimes like in Live Oak, we've used some of the grant money they have up there to pay for overtime for the officers to work special project. And right now we have what's called an ABC grant where we go out and work minors that are buying alcohol or people selling to them. So we've got that grant going on. But grants are very hard to find nowadays, and it's very difficult. No matter what anybody tells you, grants are tough to find. Our narcotics task force is basically on a Burns grant, and we have a state grant for our alcohol buy program. And that's really the only grants we have. We have grants in for more officers, but it's kind of tough to compete with L.A., Sacramento, and those guys.
Where are most of these grants coming from? The federal government or the state government?
It's a combination of state and federal, but most of them are federal and they're funneled to the state. And the state obviously will take their cut for their administrative costs, and then they divvy it out on a competition basis usually. Mm-hmm. And you have to submit a grant, and it's reviewed by points and everything. And if you make the selection, then you go ahead and enter into a contract and you move on. But
see, this is what kind of irritates me, the way the money is allocated out, because it's allowing the federal government to grow in power. And, when you study and read your Constitution, they are to be a servant of the states and have enumerated powers, but they've way overstepped that situation.
They were created by the states.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, they attach strings to your grant. And
of
if you don't abide by that grant strings, then obviously they can pull the funding or not fund you next time.
Social engineering,
yeah. So can you tell us what, if you transition to the sheriff, what would you normal day be then as the sheriff? I mean, how would you? What does the sheriff do basically?
The sheriff is the one who will set the basically the direction he wants the sheriff's office to go, and he'll put that together and work with each of the commanders, including myself, because I'm the one that has to get the division heads to implement this stuff, and he's also the one who's the direct contact with the citizens as well as directly contact with the other department heads. And he basically deals with department heads. I deal with more than the assistants of the departments and everything. So that's basically the day of the sheriff. Me as a day of sheriff is going to probably be coming and doing what I'm doing right now, moving on into the community. Do what I do now is go out to the farmers and talk to the farmers, find what's going on, walking the streets in my uniform on a hot 100-degree day, and trying to strengthen those relationships and everything.
All right, guys. Well, we got to take a break, and we're taking enough of Jeff's time. It's been 40 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and get us our commercials played out, and you guys can show him out or talk to him, and I'm going to shut you guys' mics down for a minute and play these commercials, and I'll be doing my work. You guys finish off. All right?
Well, I want to say thank you to Jeff.
I do too. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me and giving me an opportunity.
And really, we just picked his brain for a little bit of
well, and that's the problem
on. We could talk for hours about what he's got going.
4 or 5, no problem.
I could talk to you for hours.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming in, Jeff.
This is Yuba County Sheriff Steve Durfer. I fully endorse Captain Brandon Barnes to be your next Sutter County Sheriff. I've worked with Captain Barnes for over 20 years. Brandon is a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy. He was our former SWAT commander and chief of investigations, and now holds one of the highest positions in law enforcement as jail commander. He leads and manages a staff of over 80 personnel and an inmate population of almost 400. Folks, your sheriff is the top law enforcement officer in the county. Experience and character are critical. That's why 13 active California county sheriffs, including myself, endorse him. I am beyond confident that Captain Barnes has the skills, the temperament, and the vision to lead Sutter County. I believe this is the most important vote on your ballot. I encourage you to vote Brandon Barnes for Sutter County Sheriff.
Paid for by Brandon Barnes for Sutter County Sheriff 2018. The political establishment complains the country is divided, but they fail to mention who exactly is doing the dividing. Secure borders and the rule of law, for example, have never been considered divisive by most Americans, any more than standing up for the national anthem. No, it's career politicians and lobbyists and their war on the middle class that's divisive and wrong. Fueled by lobbyist money, the Sacramento politicians have saddled us with the highest income taxes, sales taxes, and gas taxes in the country, while protecting illegal alien criminals. If you're ready to fight back, then join John Cox, a small business owner who will cut taxes, repeal Jerry Brown's sanctuary state, and take on the liberal Democrats, union bosses, and big businesses to end their war on the middle class. We didn't let them take our country. Why should we let them take our state? Conservative, Republican, John Cox for governor.
Paid for by John Cox for governor. 2018.
We're back. I forgot to turn up the board.
Are we back now? Yes, we are.
We really are back now. I was a little quick to jump the gun there.
Yeah, well.
That was a good interview. I really like having those guys in house to
and
ask him questions off the cuff. He was a little nervous there from the get-go, but he reeled it in real well.
We're going to have John Missler here on the top of the next hour
Yeah.
to talk about the Yuba County water and such.
Which was really interesting because Andy told me, even though we don't have a dog in his fight, that he was going to educate us last weekend, and I got no education last weekend.
It's because you got
or
fired.
This weekend.
Oh, I got educated this weekend.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I didn't hear it. I listened to him a little bit.
We'll talk about that when the top of the hour
Okay.
gets here, yeah.
Because, whenever that gets here, I want to talk about that. But so we had the school board this week.
We did have the school board.
And
you know the problem with those three running in Sutter County? They weren't Frank Ravelis.
Yeah, exactly. Was that guy just off the cuff or what? Just good. I mean, really just a good speaker. And some of his answers, you asked that one question, Tom, and I didn't know where you were going with it. But, wow, he recovered really, really nicely.
Yeah, I think the question I posed was...
it was long-winded.
Yeah, well, it had a lot of depth in there, man.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
And the question was, what do you think of the customs and cultures of the United States of America? Or how would you try to preserve the customs and cultures of the United States of America? Something along that line, but I had it worded...
What amazed me was how he dove right into the Constitution, didn't miss a beat.
Yes.
And dove right in there about, that they need to be teaching the Constitution. I was just amazing. No. I mean, the guy was just awesome. No wonder he's running unopposed because, if we could just clone him and move him over to Sutter County, he'd have no problem.
No, we're talking Francisco's his name, right? What was his last name?
Ravelis.
Yeah. And he's the Yuba County Superintendent of Schools.
Yeah.
Right.
Made a great impression on me.
Oh, awesome.
And, it ain't easy to do.
No, but he's running unopposed, so we should talk about the other three in Sutter County that are not running unopposed, of course, running against each other.
Right.
A couple of them wanted to disturb me a little bit in the way they wanted the schools to educate the parents
well, I like the idea that we all need counselors. We all need counselors in our lives somewhere, shape, or form. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't, obviously, but not everybody needs counselors. So, it's kind of amazing to me that we all think we need counselors, or he thinks we all need counselors. And you know what? John Mitzler's actually a little bit early here, and he's actually in studio. I don't want to talk about the water board for about 15 minutes, though. But, John, no. If you feel like you got something to add, by all means, add it in, buddy. We're good to go. Your mic's hot, so go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
John Missler, running for 5th District Supervisor and owner of the Territorial Dispatch, and glad to be here on Mother's Day.
We love your paper, buddy. Absolutely love it.
Got a copy of it right here.
Thank you very much for those kind words.
Combed through it yesterday.
Yeah, it's awesome. We love it. So what we're talking about is we know you don't have a dog in the fight over in Sutter County. We know that, but we're going to let him go ahead and speak on it if he feels like he needs to, because I believe that everybody's got a dog in the fight in Northern California. Yeah. one of your buddies that sits on the board right now, Andy Vasquez, has beat me up about not having a dog in the fight. So he's probably going to be upset that you're here today because we don't even have a dog in the fight, what you're running for in District 5 in Yuba County. We don't matter to you at all, is basically what he's been telling us. Even though we've been a supporter of him is what amazes me. We've been a supporter of Andy's the guy, yada, yada, yada.
You're just mad because you got fired.
Well, I'm mad that I got fired, but you know what? That's what happens whenever you jab the big dog with a stick.
Hey, we have a dog in the fight because Marysville and Yuba City are joined at the hip.
Andy's going to disagree with you. I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't,
But my theory is that Randy Fletcher's got to go, dude. You can't talk that slow and be a politician. It doesn't work.
So, anyway, we're going back to the school district.
Sorry.
Superintendent of schools, yes. And then, no, Ball may be a nice lady, but she wanted to tie us up with these partnerships with the unions. And the unions, according to Randy, and Randy's not here, but so this is just gossip. But
it's your opinion.
Yeah, it's my opinion. Where's my sign?
Mom's not here this week.
Allegedly. Oh, where's my sign?
She's gone this week, so we don't have slides. We don't have anything. We're not ready to do a radio show.
He said the unions took his boy and indoctrinated him into the Democratic Party and wanted him to walk precincts for him. I said, good Lord. I mean, what is this? Is this a political arm of the Democrat Party? Is what they are.
The unions, right?
The unions, yeah. And, of course, Randy hates the unions, even though he had to work for them for many years. But he let his feelings be known. He was real about it and called him up and asked him, what the hell are you doing to my boy here? Oh, is that your boy, Randy? Oh, we're sorry.
So I'm a little lost on that. The Randy is a friend of yours or what?
Randy,
no, Randy on the show.
Randy
normally sits
Idaho,
right next to
Randy.
you.
Oh, Randy.
Randy,
okay,
the guy normally sits next to you.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
Tom's in.
Well, I mean, there's so many Randys out there, so.
Well, and he's gone this week, so he's out of Tom's mind.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway,
okay, I didn't know that story about his son.
And regardless of being a political arm of the Democratic Party, there's going to be, maybe take in 5 kids? 5 kids out of how many hundreds are not going to graduate and go on to college?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we talked about the dire need for vocational training.
Yes.
And
well, let's back up. So we got Ball, Dr. Ball. I don't know.
Ball Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
Tom
Rooser.
And Joe Hendricks.
That are running for Yuba City.
Sutter County.
Sutter County, excuse me.
Yeah.
Board of Supervisors for the
Superintendent
of Schools.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody's up to par. We've got 3 of them. They're all running for Superintendent of Schools in Sutter County. I like Joe.
I had to say Joe, too.
Joe is the one that wants to get the ROP back up and running where it has been in the past. There is an inordinate amount of people that do not go on to college. And those that do are probably still looking for a job when they get out.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say college isn't a good thing. I mean, I have a little bit of college under my belt. It has darn sure helped me get where I am. There's no doubt about it.
I got a little bit of Yuba College.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Mine's Butte and a little bit of Chico. That's it.
Yeah.
But the thing is not everybody is going to go to college. And you know what? I didn't go to college out of high school. I didn't go to college until I was darn near 27 years old. So I needed to make a living between then and then.
Yeah.
Between 18 and 27.
I talked to a contractor the other day. His dad I actually talked to, and he's a contractor also. His son went to college, and then when it was all said and done, he got his diploma. He wanted to be a contractor.
Well, and look at my son. Went to school, got his diploma, was going to do the auto tech stuff, went down there to UTI, graduated, had all of his stuff for Toyota, went to work at Toyota for a year, and then came to work for me and bought his own house, and, at 23 years old and is on his way, and he's in construction. Yeah. So, it doesn't always take college to make a decent living if you have the right training.
What were you saying that the welders were getting paid there in Sacramento?
Right now, a welder is getting around 125 an hour.
Yeah.
Now prevailing wage is 78, but the problem is if prevailing wage is the minimum right now, because all these public jobs are out there, you've got to pay more than that to get them over to you, right? So one guy pays 100. Well, now guess what? I got to get my welder back, so I'm going to pay him 105, 110, 115. We're up to about 125 bucks an hour for a decent welder that can weld structural steel.
And higher than that in the Bay Area.
Yep. And the problem is I called out to Butte College to their welding program because I thought, man, my nephews, I got 3 nephews all around 24 to 25. And I'm like, man, you guys got to get into this. This is money hand over fist. If you got to go to school for a year, trust me, it's worth your time. 2.5 year waiting period to get into the training.
Wow.
2.5 years. And that's if you have some welding before. So the kids that coming out of high school that they don't offer welding anymore,
Yeah.
guess what? We have a problem because they're not even going to be able to get in the 2.5 years. And I mean, 125 bucks an hour really isn't chump change. I mean, they can actually they can support a family on that.
Oh,
So-
man, that's huge. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good wage and it's a good living wage. So yeah, and there's just a massive shortage of them. We can't find enough. And I'm building, I'm going to start that 800 project, and I'm going to need 5 welders. Now, I got none because I've lost them all since for my elevator guys have snatched them up now.
Yeah. Well.
So I don't know. Just the trades are back, and we need men to fill them, and it's not there. Null and void.
It's shortage in every construction trade.
Exactly. Even the sheetrockers are having a heck of a time.
Yeah.
Wow. Not enough buckets or what?
Not enough boxes.
Well, maybe we can get Stan to retire on this next election, and he can go back to hanging
Putting on his
sheetrock.
bags and hanging sheetrock?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but okay.
We need that wallboard.
I think he's going to have to get beat out. I don't think a voluntary retirement's there. He's been too long on the public dole.
So, as far as the superintendent of schools over there, I just got to say this: the guy from Yuba County, Francisco, outshined him so much, in my opinion, that none of them measured up.
Well,
for me, so
Tammy texted in. Apparently, she couldn't stand it. Tammy is our other cohort out here, and my wife, and she says that Tom and Ball do not understand the limits of their jurisdiction and want to expand their authority into areas of our lives. Tom believes the school district needs to educate parents. Ball Dillon believes providing mental health care from an early age for parents and kids. Now that was my add-in, but that's Tammy's.
And that's what they said.
Took away from it.
Yeah, I'm going with the other guy, Hendricks.
Yeah,
That's
me
the bottom
too,
line.
definitely.
Yep.
And I just like the idea that he isn't afraid to get out there. He did throw his hat in late, and a lot of people are upset about that. I know different people that I've talked to. Well, he came in so late, and you don't know if he has a chance. You know what? His message is getting out there. I'm going to offer to give him a free radio ad next week from us and get him out here, get him to download a radio ad, and we'll start flying it and see if we can't help the guy out just a little bit.
Yeah.
Since we're all in agreement. I know, obviously, Tammy is. So
Yeah, we're not in agreement on all our picks, but
No, we're not.
We definitely are on this guy.
No,
Yes.
exactly, and that's the big thing is, I mean, if we can be in agreement, even you know what, even if we're 90% in agreement, it's kind of like with the John Cox thing. Okay, kick your favorite one to the curb. I'm sorry, that's the way it goes. But we got to get in alignment and get some good people elected. And you know, it's kind of like me and Andy had this talk last week, and I hope he heard it, and I hope he's hearing it again. Is if you see eye to eye with somebody 80% of the time, 80% of the time they're your ally, not 20% of the time they're your enemy.
Right.
You don't dwell on that 20% of the time. And it's like I said last week, if you agree with somebody 100% of the time, you know, darn good and well, one of you just kiss ass.
Yes.
Because nobody's going to see eye to eye 100% of the time.
Hey, and from what I understand, and Bill, you're probably better up on this than me, but John Cox is leading in the polls.
John Cox has led over Travis Allen in every poll that's come out that I'm aware of. Every legitimate poll that's come out. There may have been one where Allen led Cox, but you know, and I know there's some pretty rabid dogs chasing around Travis Allen. following in his shirt tails. But like I said, I think I told you last week, he's like a, when you go down the Midway, I haven't been to the fair in years, but when you used to go down the Midway and all those tweakers look like they've been up for 3 days barking at you, hey, come on in here, right here, you'll win a prize. And that's what that guy reminds me of.
They're still there.
Are they?
Yeah, I go to the fair every once in a while. They're still there, yeah. Believe it or not. Same guys, I think.
Hey, I was at the fair one year, and I haven't been in many years, but when we were teenagers, we loved to go to the fair,
Fair was a big event.
And I saw this this one guy was ripping off some of the carnies there. And, man, they chased him down.
Oh, yeah, beat him.
Around the back of that fairway there.
Yeah.
And they gave him a party. He was up in the air. Yeah, he wasn't even hitting the ground. Wow. That was pretty, that was wild. I'll never forget that. So,
okay.
I watched a few videos this week on John Cox and Travis Allen and debates. So, I landed with John Cox too. Our worst nightmare is that Travis Allen drags away too many of the votes.
Yeah,
he should get in there and endorse John Cox. That would be nice because Gavin Newsom, come on, nightmare. He's a nightmare.
Yeah, well, I've said it once, and I'm going to say it again. If him or Houck get elected, if Houck gets elected as sheriff or Gavin Newsom gets governor, I have to move. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I have to leave the county.
We're Idaho bound. Huh?
We're gone. on the bus.
Yeah. So, John Cox, he has my vote. I hope that the Republican Party can get in line.
I think Bill was reminding me that I have to drive home after this. And I got to drive through Yuba City. That's okay. I'm brave. What is that? Traffic cop. Oh, you want? Oh, okay. Hang on. I can take us out with that. It's about time to go out, anyways. So I'll take us out with the traffic cop. Hang on, because we want to play this in 4. Where we at? Here we go. Oh boy, you think I could find it? There we go. So this is for Dennis. We got a song for everybody.
My uniform is so neat as I walk along the street, dressed so nicely from my bottom to the top. All the motorists in sight are incredibly polite, cause they know that I'm a big deal traffic cop. My buttons as nicely shined. And what have we here? Oh, parked in a loading zone. When a motor car I finds in a set of yellow lines, I just purses up my lips all thin and tight. First I scribbles out a ticket, tears it quickly out and lick it. Then I plucks it on the car with all my might. But the best thing that I like is to sit upon my bike, waiting carefully behind the nearest tree. When a car comes shooting past, I just gives my horn a blast. When I chase her, oh, there's just no stopping me.
I agree with you, John, no conflicts. But you're running a piece of media, one of the main pieces of media in the foothills. And I think you need to consider that you can sway public opinion through your piece of media. And in some countries, that's called state-run media. And I think you wanted me to consider that piece around conflict of interest. Thank you.
Well, since that was directed at me, I hope that I have an opportunity to respond. And I would like to say that I might agree with you of your concerns if there were not 2 newspapers here. What you may be suggesting is maybe the foothills should have no newspaper. But let me give you another side to this. What if you, for the very first time, had true transparency in government? If I'm elected to the board, and I expect that I will, It'd be my intention that I will be very much involved in the day-to-day operations of the county to a larger degree than I have been, even as a watchdog. So let me assure you, the public will know more about their government than they do today. Yahoo!
And that was from the debate at the Tea Party with John Mitzler and Alton Wright.
Alton Wright.
Alton Wright.
Yes.
Trying to throw him under the bus with his newspaper, but we all know that it's pretty straight up and pretty straight to the point. So, but I love the response. We've been playing that quite a bit, John. I hope you don't mind.
Love it.
Okay, because I mean, it was straight to the point. It was a good return, and you stood up for what you believe in. And I that says a lot to me this day and age.
No matter what you say, if you got that background music from the good, the bad, and the ugly, you can't go wrong, man.
Yeah, well, and you know, Tammy just loves it every time I play it. She starts cracking up because she's like, "You couldn't have hit it just better in there with the at the end."
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, we're having fun with it, that's for sure.
So, John's here, and he's going to educate us on some water issues going on in Yuba County.
Yeah, this is John Mitzler running for District 5 of Yuba County, which I'm surprised we even have him on the show because we don't have a dog in this fight. So realistically, even though the show is Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight, Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight,
Is that
we should
Yuba?
be talking about it.
Is that Yuba?
Yuba.
Is that Y-U-B-A? Is that how
Yeah,
it's
that's how it's spelled. But if you listen to Andy Vasquez, we don't have a dog in this fight. We shouldn't even be talking about it because, gosh forbid that we say something that might offend him. So, anyways, I'm sorry.
We have dogs in the fight, so that's just the way it is.
And whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
I may only have a little Chihuahua, but by God, I have a dog in the fight. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we got him here for
That
today.
water running down the river between Marysville and Yuba City, yeah, that's our dog in the fight right there, bud.
That's the dog in the fight, no doubt about it. All right. So, do we have any questions for John, or do we
So,
want
John,
to...
jump in and give us some background on you and what you're doing and what you like and what you don't like.
Do you want to get right into the water, or do you want me to give you my spiel on how great I am?
Yes, give us your
Okay.
spiel on how great you are and what you know.
Well, I'm running for the 5th District Supervisor, which includes the District 10, Hallwood, and the Foothills. And I've lived in Browns Valley for the last 40 years. And the day that I moved into my home in Browns Valley, a group of people stopped by as we were moving in and asked if we would join the volunteer fire department. They were trying to get one together. So from the very first day that I was in the 5th District, I've been a volunteer. I volunteered for the fire department. And later on, as we progressed, I was one of the founders of what is now the Community Service District and Fire Department. We put it on the ballot, and we passed it with 70% of the people. That allowed us to bring in, the ambulance came up, and they were there. I was an EMT. We worked with the ambulance service, and we began to bring year-round fire protection, because prior to that time, all it was there was CAL FIRE during the fire season. So we then had all year-round fire. We had an ambulance, and we had a big improvement to the community. I also have been a charter member of the Foothill Lions Club for 35 years. I'm one of probably about 6 or 7 that are still around. And I also was on the Browns Valley Irrigation District Board for a couple of years. When this whole water bank thing started, I was there at the very beginning of what we're seeing today as selling surface water. And I was appointed to the Board of Supervisors by Governor Pete Wilson. I served a year, and then I ran and was elected. And I had so much press and controversy in those 3.5 years that most people thought I had 2 terms. But I really didn't actually even have a full term. And the main reason I lost was, I don't know if you remember, Ross Perot wanted to clean out the barn. Well, in those, and George H. Bush lost 20%, and that's how we got Clinton. At that same time, 60% of all county supervisors throughout the state of California, the incumbents lost that same. So There was a combination of the reasons why I wasn't there, but part of it was the Ross Perot thing, and part of it was because I had support for Spring Valley Project, which went along with the general plan that the public had approved 8 years earlier. But for the last 18 years, I've owned the Territorial Dispatch, which has been a watchdog on government. And I'm a conservative first, but a registered Republican. And owning the Territorial Dispatch, we hold politicians' feet to the fire. Whether they be Democrat or they be Republican, we hold their feet to the fire. And I believe we make better politicians out of them when they know they're being watched.
Yes.
So that's kind of what's gone on with me for the last 20 plus years.
That's kind of how we feel here at the Political Spotlight, is when we shine a light on it, kind of tends to make a difference. Ask Curtis Grima. He knows a lot about that. He tried to bully us around a little bit. We stomped on him, and we're getting our stomping boots on, and we're doing pretty good with it. It's working out fairly well.
I think I want to repeat what I said, because I have a lot of people that call me all kinds of names if I have something in the paper that is negative towards a Republican. And I don't want to get off too far on this James Whittaker thing, but we took a real beating when we came out with the story of James Whittaker. I had one guy almost assault one of my delivery people as he grabbed the papers out of his hand and threw them in there. Wow. Well, now here we go a day or two later, you got the Appeal Democrat, you got the Sacramento Bee, you got Chico News and Review, Channel 13, and we get beat up on these stories even when they're true.
When you're right.
Yeah. So, and then if you go back to the district attorney, what was his name? Carl Adams. Mm-hmm. The Appeal Democrat came out with a 4-page glowing thing, one small mistake in a excellent career. Well, we talked more about what was really going on, and we caught a lot of static for that. So, to my good Republican buddies, we're not out after Democrats or Republicans. We're out to tell you what's going on, and we hope they all get better for it.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah,
man.
too many people want
like
to follow
that.
the R or the D just because it's an R.
We
or
were
a
having
D.
that conversation before we went on the air today.
Yeah.
That I've upset a few people for who I'm voting for because they don't have the right letter after their name. You know what? The fact is we need to elect good candidates. And just I don't align with Democrats. I just don't. But the fact is I'm not going to kiss a Republican's butt because they're a Republican.
No.
If I don't agree with them. And
we
you know
need
what?
good people.
You're supposed to represent me, not me represent you. I'm sorry, that's
Yes.
not the way this game is played. And they need to learn it. And it's a hard lesson learned right now because the fact is they're used to having it their way of us kissing their butt. Guess what? It's not happening anymore, folks. And Curtis, you're one that's going to learn that the hard way, I'm afraid, and go down fighting. But the problem is we're not doing it anymore. And you're not going to intimidate us. You're not going to come after us. We're in charge. Sorry.
That's why we were so refreshed when we heard Francisco from the Yuba County
Exactly.
Superintendent of Schools.
People
it was
need
such
to get
a
involved.
refreshing. I mean, it was like going to
Spring of clear water.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Instead of we're usually getting sprayed with swamp water. You know.
Well, and you know what was awesome about that guy, and we're talking about superintendent of schools, Yuba County. He's running unopposed. But the fact is the guy got it. He said, you know what? The parents need to get more involved with it. And, you know, the schools need to follow their line of where their line stops and let the parents deal with the rest of it. The guy gets it. And then whenever you asked him the question about the Constitution, he got it. So we need to elect more people like that because, look at it, he's running unopposed. And why? Because probably they're afraid that they can't send somebody up against him that's going to win right now.
Yeah.
Could I just echo?
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I've met Frank, and he is a extremely conservative and humble person.
Very much
He
so.
is very, very humble, and I'm a big fan of Rick Teagardens and what he was able to accomplish. But Frank is a good person to follow.
Good
Teagarden.
successor.
And he praised Teagarden
Yes, he
quite
did.
a bit. Mm-hmm.
I'll get some sound clips next week. I was busy this week and had some stuff going on. I'll get some sound clips for that next week.
I want to comment on what you said about the newspaper, the Territorial Dispatch, and then the other newspapers, because the way I see it is I'm reading a lot of these papers and also know some of the things that are going on in the community that don't make the papers. Okay, I feel like the Appeal Democrat covers for the political swamp. You know, I mean, that's the way I feel. I feel like they provide cover for them and keep things out of the newspaper when they should be in the newspaper. So it's refreshing to read the Territorial Dispatch, and you guys are telling it like it is, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. So you got it. I love it. I love reading this little newspaper.
All right, we have 23 minutes to get into water.
Okay.
All right.
Can I read this that John brought in?
Yeah, have
and
at
I
it.
like this.
Yep, have at
It
it.
says the California Water Code states all water within the state is the property of the people of the state, but the right to the use of water may be acquired by appropriation in the manner provided by law. So I thought that was an excellent little paragraph, and that goes along with what I believe the water belongs to the people.
In the manner provided by law, that would probably be an initiative, wouldn't it?
Could be.
It could be because, well, first of all, by legal manner, that means like water rights, pre-1914 water rights, permits, and water districts have those rights to use the water. And when it comes to well water, that is being looked at by our good buddy Jerry Brown signed it in without any legislation that they're looking into controlling groundwater. But at this time, they aren't. And when you pump water on your land, you have a right to use that water. But once it leaves your property, for the most part, you have no right to it any further. Now, you can't say that 100% because Yuba County is a little bit different than most of the counties. And if you have acquired rights to pump water off of your land, then I guess that was grandfathered in. But for the most part, you have a right to use water in a well, but it's not yours when it leaves your property. You can't sell it or do anything else with it. Now, what we're talking about here is that back in the 1990s, the early 1990s, California was going through its perpetual drought, and they wanted to get water from Bullard's Bar. So what they did is each of the water districts made an agreement with the farmers that if they would quit using surface water and pump groundwater, then they would sell that surface water to the California State Bank.
Can you differentiate between surface water and groundwater for
Well,
us?
Surface water is what you get out of a lake or a flowing stream, and then of course your well water is what you take out of the ground on your own property. So anyway, they put meters on the commercial pumps of the farmers, and they determined how much water they were pumping for their crop, and then they had a formula that changes every year, and that formula then allows the farmers to be reimbursed for using pumping, and that's the maintenance. They get the actual cost of the power to run the pumps, the maintenance of the pumps, and then plus a slight profit, which in the 1990s it was a slight profit because they were selling water for $125 an acre foot, and now it's gone as high as $700 an acre foot over the time. It varies from year to year.
Who pays that fee? The state pays the fee?
The state pays the Yuba County Water Agency for the water that they buy from the surface. The Yuba County Water Agency keeps 15% of that water for administrative reasons, and then the other is given to the pumpers. And my information says that an average commercial pump for the farmers costs $100,000 a year to maintain. And the pumpers are making $100,000 a month. So that gives you a kind of a feel for what's going on here.
Can you tell us the term the pumpers, for the people out there listening, what are the pumpers?
The pumpers are the farmers who are in this program, and they're pumping groundwater for their crops rather than using the surface water. They're the ones that are getting reimbursed from the surface water sales. So those are the pumpers. And there's probably a little over 100 of them, and not all of them live in Yuba County. They farm in Yuba County, but they don't all live here. And like the water code says, that water belongs to all of us. And this initiative that a group tried to put out a couple of years ago said that they wanted to take half of the money that the pumpers are getting. And so if they're making $2 million a year, they're still going to make $1 million. But you take that money and then you divide 50% of that money would go to all of the landowners in Yuba County against their property taxes. The other 50% would go back to each water district to help stabilize water rates. So, for example, I live in the Browns Valley Irrigation District. 2 years ago, my water, and I've been buying water there for 40 years, but 2 years ago it was $250 for a year's use of the water. And a terrific price. It basically means I can use all the water I want to for $250. But this year I'm paying $500. I still think that's a great price. But the rates would not have gone up had this initiative been in place at the time. So you can see the Water Agency is a great organization. They do an awful lot for Yuba County. Tremendous. But the bonds were paid off 2 years ago, and I look at that, as what we're talking about, an initiative, as a return on investment, because the taxpayers of Yuba County paid part of the building of Blur's Bar Dam. They paid $400,000 a year in property taxes that went to the dam. Now, there were grants and federal monies and others, but it was all public money.
Yeah.
So I just want, because you like it, Andy Vasquez, so well, I'll just tell you how he answered this one. When he was asked, why don't you support this initiative? He said, I don't own property in Yuba County. Why would I support it? Now, this is the representative of the people speaking.
He doesn't own property?
He does not.
He doesn't have a dog in the fight?
Well, that would make a lot of sense for him to answer that way, because he doesn't feel like we should be talking about Yuba County at all because we don't live here.
So there was a little underhandedness going on with the initiative that disappeared, isn't there?
What's that?
There's a little bit of underhandedness going on with the initiative that disappeared?
I believe so, and I'll tell you why. The initiative 2 years ago was put together, and like all initiatives, it was given to the county clerk recorder for title and summary, which is the first process in an initiative process. She reviewed the initiative and granted the title and summary, gave it back to the committee. They went out and collected the necessary signatures and took it back. The next step would have been to put it on the ballot. The Yuba County Water Agency said, whoa, wait a minute. We believe we should have the right to title and summary. So they saw a judge in Sacramento and asked for this. Well, there wasn't much pushback from the clerk recorder. She didn't want to get into a fight. I presume it's because she didn't want to spend taxpayer money of one organization fighting another. Well, anyway, the bottom line was the judge said, okay, Water Agency, you can do title and summary. They said, okay, fine. So the group brings their initiative back to the Water Agency to start the process all over again.
Wow.
And the Water Agency said, no, it's an illegal initiative. We deny you that right. Now, if you don't think that was a setup.
That was a setup.
This is after they had already gone through it once. The professional in here is the Yuba County Clerk Recorder. She does initiatives. The Water Agency, to this very date, has never done an initiative or a title and summary in their entire lives.
And they're probably not ever allowed to.
Now, for me, I'm dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to this water stuff. Okay, so I don't know what title and summary is. Can you tell me what that is?
Well, they look it over for legality and the correct writing, and they put the title into a legal ease, as the same with the summary. The text that's written to give the public has to meet certain criteria. That's your title and summary.
Okay, I get it.
So in a way, she has already said, this is a legal document.
That's what would appear in your sample ballot.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And your
Thank
final,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
But there's another issue here that I haven't brought up yet, and that is that the state Supreme Court said the initiative process can be very complicated, and nobody but the courts can kill an initiative. And so the process generally goes like this. You get the initiative on the ballot, then it goes to vote. If it's denied by the public, it's a dead issue. But if the public voted it in, this is the point where legalese comes in. If the initiative were passed by the people and somebody objected to it on legal grounds, this is the place where you do that. You don't kill an initiative.
Not before it gets to
Right.
the ballot.
So it was a 7-0 vote to do this, which almost all the water agency votes in the past have been 7-0. So there's not a lot of critical thinking, in my estimation, going on there. But when they kill this initiative, how do they do it? The water agency is run by 7 politicians who made a decision that they didn't want this on there, and their attorneys said, we can make findings that say this is illegal. There's no unbiased decision maker in here. It's all a one-sided argument.
Yeah.
So
let's be clear on who the Yuba County Water Agency Board is.
Well, before we do that, how about for us that don't know much about it, how does a water agency come into being? What is it? What is a water agency?
I would like to even back up further than that.
Okay.
Because we're talking about groundwater and surface water, and I'm learning now that groundwater is anything that's in a lake, in a stream, in the river is groundwater.
No, that's surface water.
That's surface water.
Surface water. Excuse me. Groundwater is anything that you pump out of the ground.
Correct.
Okay. But now, before Bullard's Bar Dam was there, and this is where my thing usually gets me in trouble, is before Bullard's Bar Dam was there, I'm sure that the groundwater table had to be much lower than after Bullard's Bar was there. The groundwater level around Bullard's Bar had to come up whenever the water in the dam, in the water in the lake came up, correct?
Yeah, the way that it worked was that a lot of the South County, the water table was very low. Well, let me back up just a little bit. Prior to Bullard's Bar, the farmers did all of the crops with wells.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had an expense to do their crops with well water pumps and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
When Bullard's Bar went in and they were able to use surface water, they automatically raised their profit by not having to use pumps anymore. So that, and nobody's complaining about that. I just think that everybody should have these benefits, not just 100 people. But that was the beginning. And so what you have here, the surface water that is being purchased by the state, and goes Southern California for the most part, goes down the river and recharges many of these underground aquifers.
Okay.
Now, the north of the Yuba River, like in District 10 and stuff, the aquifers weren't hit as hard because you also have the Feather River coming down.
Right.
So you have the Feather and the Yuba coming down, and some of the area north of us the groundwater was good anyway because of the Feather River. But South County, the aquifers were run low.
So those aquifers get recharged by rain and also by water seepage out of the river into the aquifer?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So you could see that, and this reason I talk about this being a simple issue, it doesn't have to be this complicated, just because when that water's running down there and it's recharging the aquifers, nothing has to change through this initiative. Because what the initiative is, it says, I wrote down here, the water initiative has little to do with water. It has more to do with the distribution of money from the sale of surface water. The initiative would give some of the proceeds to the public and the water districts, not all to this one group of pumpers.
And these pumpers are also farmers,
Correct.
so they get subsidies. I know I own a little bit of rice land out in Sutter County, and I get a little stipend every year, first of the year. Courtesy of all you taxpayers out there, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
So a water agency, is it a group of private people that decided to put it together, or is it a public agency mandated by the state? I mean, I don't have a clue what a water agency
They have
is.
what they call the Agency Act, and it was a legislative act that was put in to form the group called the Yuba County Water Agency. And the biggest accomplishment they made back in the 60s was the building of the Bullards Bar Dam. And in the Agency Act, it's very specific what they can do with money. It has to be water related. Okay? So that makes things interesting. You can pave a road if it goes to the plant.
To the reservoir.
Yeah. They gave $100,000 to a fire department a couple of weeks ago because the fire truck, $100,000 towards the purchase of a new fire truck because it's possible the fire truck might go to a fire that's on their property. So they make some very fine lines at how, and by the way, just as long as your listeners here.
So they're psychics too, huh?
Right.
Well, this is grants that they're giving out.
No,
The water agency
this
is
profits from
giving.
the,
Yeah,
well,
but
they are through grants, yeah. They don't pay them back, yeah.
yeah, they give the money as a grant to the fire department or
Yeah.
whatever.
And doing this election, since I've been running against Randy Fletcher for this, I think they've given away a lot of money to different organizations, and it always, in the press releases I get, it's always Randy Fletcher said this will be good for this or that. So anybody that's listening out there in the 5th District, if you're listening in the 5th District and you belong to a nonprofit, between now and October is a good time to get your request into the water agency.
Wow.
But so they're giving money out and saying because it might have an effect on the agency.
Correct.
Right.
Very fine line in some cases.
Yes. Yes.
But I'd also like to say another part to this is that this initiative, I believe, is good for a couple reasons. And I haven't seen the final one. But my understanding is that they'll take half of the pumpers' money, distribute it to the water districts, as I said before, and to the public. Also, there will be a power generation element in the new one. So when they figure out what the power generation profit revenues are, that will be coming back to all the people of Yuba County against their PG&E bills. So that's another element of it.
There you go.
And then another element to it is that in Butte County a couple of years ago, some people put an initiative on the ballot and said, we don't want you to sell water out of Butte County. And the initiative passed. So one of the ways this committee is thinking is that we can stop that from happening because there's a lot of money in this.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars involved. One of the ways we can do this is if everybody in the county has skin in the game. You're all getting part of the sales.
Everybody pays electric bill, yeah.
And everybody gets a little bit of that proceeds from the water sales. It's very unlikely that you would be able to get an initiative to stop the ability to sell water out of Yuba County. Everybody would have a portion of it.
That's similar to Alaska, where all the residents of Alaska get a kickback for the oil off the North Slope. Yes.
I think that had a lot to do with the beginning of this initiative, that thought process.
Yeah. And so this initiative, it was squashed by the water agency, right? I mean, that's what it seemed like. And then,
yes.
And then they came up with their own initiative. Is that what's happened or no?
No. Actually, the water agency, it would be illegal for them to come up with their own initiative as a government entity. But the pumpers could come up with an initiative. And they began that process a couple of years ago. In fact, I wrote some stories about it, called it the dueling initiatives. Because the pumpers, their representative misrepresented herself at one of the meetings that she said, I represent the Yuba County Water Agency. Well, the water agency, I wrote the story because I quoted what she said. They said, oh no, she doesn't work for us. Well, she worked for the pumpers. And they had the water agency had an ad hoc committee that was involved with the pumpers to come up with an initiative. And I have an email from their consultant that says to the members, including 2 water agency members, I am a little disappointed so far in our initiative, but we'll be meeting next week with the Yuba County Water Agency attorney. That is illegal. So anyway, that's just more of the story of why I use that word corruption. Corruption is a very strong word to use, and I knew it when I used it. But I'm beginning to prove to people that the corruption is the correct terminology for what's been going on.
Wow.
So
The water belongs
getting
to the
back
people. Okay, now
getting back to the who is the board? The board, 7 people on the board plus a director.
There are 7 people on the board of directors,
Okay,
and 5 of them are county supervisors.
5 of them are county supervisors.
And one of them comes from north of the Yuba River, and one of them comes from south of the Yuba River, at large.
And that's the way it's set up. They have to be from north and south like that?
Correct.
Okay. And they have to be a county supervisor to be on the water agency? No.
The two that aren't
Yeah.
are north and south
Yes.
of the Yuba River.
Yeah, but I mean,
The-
I
the
wonder
other-
if there's a stipulation saying that you have to have one north and one south or to be on
Yes.
that board. Yes.
You have 5 supervisors who are automatically on the board.
Oh, okay. That's what I want.
Because they get elected as a supervisor, they're automatically on that board. And then you have a north and south representative that is elected as a north or south representative.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And if you, like I said earlier, I've heard them brag about how well we get along with these 7-0 votes. Well, I have a different opinion of that. But I'll tell you what was funny a couple of months ago, the Board of Supervisors said, we need some money to do X. Let's see if we can borrow this from the Yuba County Water Agency. So then they put on their water agency hat, come around to the other side of the desk, and they say, yeah, we'll support that. So then Brett Hasty, chairman of the board, says, I just love it when 2 government entities come together.
Just come together. Right now, over you. The Beatles.
Hang on, I got to play a couple of ads here real quick. So let me run these ads, and then we can get back to it.
Are you looking for high-quality gear that will hold up to your expectations? Right Side Gear has what you need. This Yuba Sutter area business puts customer service first. Joe at Right Side Gear has 12 years in the EMS field and knows the need for dependable gear. All of their gear is designed and made locally with the best USA-made materials available in the industry that meet or exceed mil-spec standards, giving them the ability to stand behind what they make. They offer a wide variety of tactical gear and also accept custom orders and repairs. They've designed and tested complete individual first aid kits. Their tear-off IVACs have everything you need and a low-profile design that easily attaches to your current MOLLE gear or the headrest of your vehicle. They also offer a pocket med kit that contains the bare necessities for severe bleeding. Right Side Gear carries a complete line of tourniquets, hemostatic agents, chest seals, and anything else you may need if the unthinkable happens. Find them on Facebook or email Joe at rightsidegear.net. Gear up right with Right Side Gear. Are you tired of buying holsters that don't fit and are uncomfortable to wear, making you take it off halfway through the day? Liberty Holsters has the holster you've been looking for. With 6 years of experience designing Kydex holsters for law enforcement and the shooting community, Liberty Holsters has taken their suggestions and implemented them to create the most comfortable, adjustable, and adaptable holster on the market. Each holster is handmade here in the Yuba Sutter area using the best U.S.-made materials in the industry. Each holster is perfectly molded around the individual model of handgun for a perfect fit and positive retention to hold your handgun in place. The cant, ride height, and retention are adjustable so you can achieve your optimal carrying comfort. They offer holsters for the most popular carry guns and do custom holsters as well. Liberty Holsters offers an unlimited lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit and like their Facebook page, Liberty Holsters, and mention this ad to receive a 20% discount.
All right, we're back, and we still have John Mitzler and the other 2 in the room.
The crew.
Tom and
Just call us the crew.
Bill. Right, guys.
Yeah.
We're the crew.
And where you're listening to the 1410 AM, the Patriot, out here on high atop Mount Huth.
At 104.3 FM.
All right. So we're going to continue on the water board. I know we were supposed to keep it short, but I think we need. I'm just now feeling like we're scratching the surface on this thing. So
Right.
I think we should just keep going.
Well, I think most people don't realize what's going on in that part of government. You know what I mean? So I'm just getting my feet wet.
Well, and the whole
That's a
problem that
pie.
I have is, it's always been said that if it's in government and it's secret, it's not good. It needs to be out there. Everybody needs to understand this. It
that
affects
would
everybody.
be salary negotiations.
Yes. So,
and it's not good, people.
No, it doesn't work for us very well at all.
what I'm trying to find out, okay, so you have Browns Valley Irrigation District, you have Nevada Irrigation District,
Cordoba,
NID, okay, all these irrigation districts.
Hallwood.
Are these water agencies, John?
No, they're a water district, and they don't. Most of them are over 100 years old that you just named. Now, Nevada Irrigation is out of Nevada County, but they do some business in you, or at least they used to. The Smartsville used to get their water from NID, but these are water districts who have water rights, pre-1914 water rights. And they're different than the agency. When the agency was formed, it kind of brought these entities together, and they work together with the water agency. Well, they signed an agreement that called the Yuba River Accords, and they all kind of part of a group that works together with the water agency coordinating the sales of water to the state water bank and stuff like that. And then when they get the money, the water agency takes 15%. Then they give the rest of the money on a percentage basis back to the water districts. Then the water districts put that money out to the pumpers.
Okay. So what about the average employee at the water district, BVID employee? Is he a state employee or is he a private employee?
He's a private employee for the water district. Let's take Browns Valley Irrigation, because I'm not real deep on this, but Browns Valley Irrigation District was formed, I'm going to say close to 110 years ago. And it belongs to the people inside that district boundary. So Collins Lake belongs to the Browns Valley Irrigation District. And most of the irrigation water in the Loma Rica Browns Valley area comes from Collins Lake. Browns Valley Irrigation District also owns 4,000 acre feet of water that goes down the Yuba River that they don't bring into the district. And that's part of the
Now,
water.
so is that irrigation district owned by the landowners corporately, or is it owned by certain people?
It's owned by all of the people within the district.
Okay, so it is owned by the property owners in the district.
Right.
Yes.
And
okay.
in fact, you could have a renter there. And it wouldn't be a property owner, but he'd be a renter. And come election time, they vote on the district representatives.
And BVID covers a good area down to the Yuba River, or I know it's down
Yes,
to
it
Spring
does.
Valley Road. Yeah.
It goes from about Collins Lake to the Yuba River.
Yeah.
All right, I got to put a plug in real quick for One Eye Blind Media. One Eye Blind Media, they do all of our transfer out here when we get ready to fly this up to YouTube, and I guess it only goes to YouTube, but it also goes out on Facebook and everything else. And they also take care of our website over at, take care of it, give us the uploads for the website over there, our Facebook page and other things. And we just want to give a hats off to him out there at One Eye Blind Media. He's starting to pick up a little bit of business from some of the local candidates that are running for office for doing some stuff for him. And he's been doing the Facebook Lives at all the forums and stuff. Been doing a really, really good job. So I just want to mention him real quick. Yeah. One Eye Blind Media, Chris Starkey over there at One Eye Blind Media. We really appreciate you, buddy, and thank you for all you do for, nothing other than a good thank you. So, no, he really does. He helps out a lot of good people. And he also does Live with Lou's show, and really helps us out with a lot of stuff over here. So we really appreciate him.
He's doing it for the people.
Keeps the people informed.
And he really is. And, I mean, it's starting to get up to where he's 20, 25 people on his Facebook Lives whenever we do the forums. So it's really huge. So I think we need to start getting you over there to the water board meetings, though, buddy. We're going to have to talk about that one next, just to keep those guys maybe a little honest on what they're saying. Are those open to the public to go to, John?
Yes, they are. They're twice a month.
There you go, Chris. We'll talk. we will definitely talk. I think this needs to be flown out, and then we can start talking about it on the radio. All right, guys, sorry about that. I just had to throw that out there. So continue.
Well, I second your comments about Mr. Starkey. I find him very helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's been really, really good to us, and just been really good for us getting in. Like I say, his candidate deal and getting out there in the forums has been really, really good to do those Facebook Lives and get that information out there. Because I know yourself, whenever you speak, you do really well, John. But a lot of these guys say stuff and they're trying to speak to the audience that they're talking to, and it burns them off every time, and I'm loving it. Because it's not about speaking the audience that you're speaking to, it's about speaking your mind and what you really believe, so we can make an honest vote also. So yeah, it makes a big difference for that. So, all right, guys.
All water within the state is the property of the people of the state, but the right to the use of water may be acquired by appropriation in the manner provided by law. I think that's worth repeating. All water within the state is the property of the people.
There you go. That's the part that gets me right there.
Yeah.
Because all the water in the state is the property of the people.
Now, there is issues with property rights, and water rights, where people have purchased water rights, and so we need to dig into that aspect of it too. You know, where I think this was a big issue down there at the Bundy Ranch.
Well,
you know, they have their water rights. So
what I want to know is, where is the money coming from to pay the pumpers, and how is the county involved with that? Can we break that down real quick? I mean, I know we only got another 15 minutes to go here, but I'd like to know where the money's coming from for the pumpers, how they get paid.
The money comes from the state of California for the state water bank, and they accumulate water to be redistributed to Southern California and to water contracts that they have.
Okay, so if the pumpers have the water rights and they're pumping the water out of the ground.
I don't think that the pumpers have the water rights. The water districts have the water rights. And I'll tell you, this is a good point too, because we're talking about property rights. There's a lot of things being thrown around. It's an illegal initiative. It's a violation of property rights. What property are you talking about? Because that surface water belongs to all the people of California. So these property rights, and here's another issue, and I could tell you another story that you might find interesting, but the thing of it is with these pumpers, they don't own this because it's negotiated every year. And it depends on what the state is going to buy. If you're, like in 2014, we had a drought. So water sales went up as they sold water to the state. The prices went up. Then I guess was it 2015, we had a lot of rain. So the prices went down. But every year the contract with the pumpers is renegotiated based on things. That shows me right there they don't own it.
Yeah.
They got nothing to say about it. They are given a percentage based on the water facts of that year. And if you own something, you don't negotiate every year for the use of it.
Right.
You demand what you want.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, if I could just tell you one more real quick story that goes along with what I said. Back in the 90s, there was a town down by Contra Costa that wanted to buy some water from the water agency, and I was on the board at the time. And we made a policy that we would not sell water to metropolitans or anybody else on what is called a long-term water agreement, because if you supply water to a city for a long term, it's there for life. The state will side with the metropolitan area. So the water agency made the policy we will only sell short-term water sales year by year by year, and that keeps Yuba County has more water available to sell than any other county in the state because of this policy. But that policy keeps anybody else from owning it. The water agency retains the ownership or the control of that water. And that's the same thing they're doing with the pumpers. It's negotiated every year, so you do not own that water. Which, by the way, I think that policy of short-term was a good idea.
Basically, the way I understood that is you're saying the water agency owns the water.
I misspoke. They control the water.
They control
They
the
control
water.
it. No,
Controlling
right here.
it, owning
all water within
But-
the state
but-
is a property of the people of the state.
I get that.
And what
Okay.
my property, I
But-
control my property. So the minute that somebody else comes and tells me that I can't put a sign up or can't leave my blighted mall up, what makes that my property longer if I don't have control over it?
Oh, big time. You're right.
So, but the problem that I'm having now is so the pumpers get paid from the state or from the county? Does the state pay the county and then the county pays the pumpers?
Pretty much.
Okay.
They do it on a contractual basis that they agree upon at each year.
Okay.
The state pays the water agency.
Okay.
The water agency takes 15% of that money for administrative costs, and then they put the money out to the different districts, and then they actually pay the pumpers.
Okay.
But
so
it's coming from the state.
So you have the state paying for it. They're
Correct.
over here. They're the bank.
Right. They're the
Then
water
you've
bank.
got the actual county that's the godfather that gets all the money. Then they dictate where the money goes to each pumper. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's based on water rights of that particular water district, whether it be VID, Hallwood, whatever. They have certain water rights that give them rights to a certain amount of water.
Okay. So how do the pumpers actually get paid though then? Then it goes back to the district. Then it goes to the pumpers?
Correct.
Okay. Because I want to break this down for everybody because I'm totally lost. And I think that I have a pretty quick uptake on stuff. So if I'm not picking up what you're laying down, then I know other people aren't. But I'm getting it.
Right.
Let me say that I'm not an authority on this.
I got you.
And the initiative is not what I'm in this
I got you.
for. I'm in here because they illegally killed the people's right to vote. That's the issue that I'm running on.
And that's what we need to get to. That's what we need to get. But I want to make sure because first, most of the people that are talking about this don't even understand how it's coming around back to the pumpers. They don't get that. So now we need to talk about the initiative of how they actually killed this thing to stop the money going back to the people rather than to the pumpers. And I think that's the part we really need to cover now.
Right. But we still needed to go through all that to try and get a basic education.
I got you. But I mean, we're going to be out of time here in about 7 minutes. So I'm thinking maybe next week we need to see if John has time to come back to wrap this thing up. I want to keep talking about it, but I really, now at least we got the layout, I think, of how the money's coming in and what's going out, what the transaction is to who.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, you've heard me say this many times, and I'll say it again today. I believe the two most powerful weapons in the world are controlling the mind of the people and controlling the water supply. And that's why I'm so interested in this water program and how it works.
And if the people don't get it, that is mind control. I mean, keep them dumb and in the corner.
Yeah.
You dumb it in the dark, guess what? It's good.
We're fighting against that right now.
Could I remind you of one thing about water? There's an old saying that goes back 150 years, and it says, whiskey is for drinking, water's for fighting over.
Yeah, that's what we heard. Bill brought that to our point last week. But so, okay, I've at least got what's going on of the sell of the water, who's selling the water, and how it's going transactioning through the water board.
I have a basic knowledge of it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
at least we're getting somewhere
Yes.
where we understand it.
And if you don't, you can go back and listen to this on the One Eye Blind Media YouTube channel.
But Chris, you're going to need to give me a call because we need to get you over there to these water board meetings. I guarantee it, to unravel this thing and figure out what's going on.
That happens every other Tuesday at the Yuba County government office, right?
Actually, they meet at their own office. and
Okay.
I don't know what the fee is. Let me just mention one more thing real quick. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
After June 5, they're going to be having town hall meetings and workshops on nothing but the initiative. So I think that by the time if the board allows it to get on there, the public will have a lot of time to learn the rest of this issue by the workshops, and that's where Mr. Starkey can cover a lot of good information.
Good. And so
the board should have nothing to do with
So
it
right
getting
now,
on there.
right now, the board is trying to kill it from getting on the ballot. Correct?
I would say yes.
Okay.
They've been pretty quiet, but I would say that yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to go to those meetings, even though we don't have a dog in the fight.
That's right. We don't have a dog in the fight at all. We don't have a dog in this fight, so
Okay.
So but hey, even without a dog in the fight, I like to stir it up. So guess what? Bring it on. So, anyways, no, this has been very informative, and I really like it. But I think we've got about 4 minutes left, 3 minutes. Is there any more that you can add, John, real quick, to make us think about, or where we could go to research some of this stuff over the next week?
I don't have anything, but what I've been doing is I have an advertisement in the Territorial Dispatch every week, and what I try to do is teach a segment of this at each one. And if you go back and look at it, you'll see the line that it follows. And I'll have one coming out Tuesday that talks about the fact that this doesn't have to be complicated. But the one before there was about the hijacked initiative. And it talks about how the initiative was taken away from the person that should be doing it and given to the water agency for the purpose of title and summary, and once they got that authority, they killed it.
Wow.
They killed it because they decided, and the courts say these issues are too complicated for a biased group to make the decision. The courts have got to look at both sides.
Yeah, but
it's a one-side negotiation type thing.
Their votes are never 7-0, are they? I mean, how could you find any bias in that?
Well,
7-0 ain't always good.
You're being sarcastic, Bill.
And check it out. It's like I said earlier, we're not always going to see eye to eye. And if we do, one of us kissing something.
Hey, a quick note, Sutter Butte's Tea Party on the 21st is going to have Chris Carlos.
And Amanda Hopper?
No, Amanda can't make it, darn it.
What do you mean?
Oh, darn it.
We align better with her. She's a Republican. The Tea Party leans more Republican, but Chris Carlos is going to show up.
Chris Carlos is going to be there along with the two Yuba County sheriff candidates.
Why are they coming to Sutter County? They don't have a dog in the fight.
Because they just love us.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. I just want to throw that out there because, they still come and talk to us. And I think even Andy Vasquez has come over and spoke at our Tea Party.
No, he couldn't. He doesn't have a dog in the fight.
He must not have. I must have been imagining
that. He just comes over when he's looking for money.
Well, I'll tell you, Sutter County would like to have a dog in this fight on the water because back when they proposed the Bullard's Bar, Sutter County was invited in as a partner and they declined, and they regret it today.
I bet they do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure those aquifers that they're pumping out of over here probably affect Sutter County too. Probably reach under the river.
Now, I'll just throw this little bone in there, okay? Primary water. If you get a chance, look into primary water. That is water created out of the core of the earth, or something to that effect. It's quite an interesting story. And Libya, Gaddafi, he discovered primary water, and he was building a river to the coast from the desert from primary water. Very interesting story.
All right.
Just remember, does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men.
All right, because I'm not going to have time to take us out. I'm just going to hit the button. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next weekend. Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight.
Happy Mother's Day.
And anger.